Well, many years ago, there was some strange activities on the planet Earth. And it was the 60s, and it was crazy. What was going on was the United States was involved in a war with a country called Vietnam. Now there was this war going on, and there was a television show that I used to love to watch called The Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. I love that show so much, and I would stay up to watch it, and my parents would let me watch it, and I was so into the fact of the way they interacted with each other, and their ratings got to be so high. Brad, it's so good to see you tonight with your longer beard and your lovely wife who makes me the best chocolate chip cookies I've ever had in the world. I love her. So the ratings for the Smothers Brothers were so high, Brad, that CBS told them, you can have any guest you want. Any guest. And they said, we want Pete Seeger. Well, CBS was scared because Pete Seeger was a known communist sympathizer back in the day. They knew he was going to sing an anti-war song. Now, the president at the time was a guy named Lyndon Baines Johnson. Now, the United States was admired in the Vietnam War, and anybody who was against war, Johnson called nervous Nellies. So Pete Seeger comes on the show, and he had just written a song called Waist Deep in the Big Muddy. An amazing, amazing folk song. And he sings it. CBS cuts it out of the show and censors it and flies the tape back to New York and only puts in this happy song that Pete Seeger sang. The Smothers Brothers pitched a shit fit and said they were going to quit unless CBS aired Waist Deep in the Big Muddy. There were only 3 major channels at the time, not thousands to choose from. So when an event happened on television, we had what were called water cooler moments, where the next day people would talk about, did you see what happened? And so they finally showed Pete Seeger singing Waist Deep in the Big Muddy. A great, great song about questioning authority. A beautiful song written by a beautiful folk singer who's still alive today, 96 years old, Pete Seeger is. Still playing the banjo, traveling the country. So he sang this song, Waist Deep in the Big Muddy, and it was a huge, huge moment. So I'm going to do this song that I learned by Pete Seeger tonight for you guys. Here goes, Waist Deep in the Big Muddy. Still applicable today, this song is. It'll probably be applicable for years. It was back in 1942. I was a member of a good platoon. We were on maneuvers in Louisiana one night by the light of the moon. The captain told us to ford a river, that's how it all begun. We were knee-deep in the big muddy, and the big fool said to push on. The sergeant said, sir, are you sure this is the best way back to the base? Sergeant, go on, I forded this river about a mile above this place. It'll be a little soggy, but just keep slogging, we'll soon be on dry ground. We were waist deep in the big muddy, and the big fool says to push on. The sergeant said, sir, with all this equipment, no man will be able to swim. Sergeant, don't be a nervous Nelly, the captain said to him. All we need is a little determination. Men, follow me, I'll lead on. We were neck deep in the big muddy, and the big fool says to push on. Well, all at once the moon clouded over, we heard a gurgling cry. A few seconds later, the captain's helmet was all that floated by. The sergeant said, turn around, men, I'm in charge from now on. And we just made it out of the big muddy with the captain dead and gone. We stripped and dived and found his body stuck in the old quicksand. I guess he didn't know that the water was deeper than the place he'd once before been. Another stream had joined the big muddy about a half a mile from where we'd gone. And we were lucky to escape from the big muddy with the captain dead and gone. Now I ain't gonna point any morals, I'll leave that for yourself. Maybe you're still walking, you're still talking, you'd like to keep your health. But every time I read the paper, them old feelings come on. We're waist deep in the big muddy and the big fool says to push on. Waist deep in the big muddy and the big fool says to push on. Waist deep in the big muddy and the big fool says to push on. Waist deep, neck deep, soon even a tall man will be over his head. We're waist deep in the big muddy and the big fool says to push on. That's for Wolfie.